Big round of applause. I'm John Smith. That's Zack Snyder. Come on.
Yeah!
Zack, take a seat. We've got comfy chairs. We brought out the good ones.
Nice. There's no expense.
So welcome to town. Welcome to town.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, this enthusiastic crowd, like a ton
Thank
of
God.
options. Yeah.
Yeah! Woo!
It's cool that none of these people have Netflix. It's a crazy thing.
We're trying to help them out. We're trying to
Crazy
help them out.
thing. That's cool.
But we suggest...
Like, I don't need Netflix. Eventually, the movie might play in the theater, so I'll go try and see it.
But they should get Netflix.
I mean,
before
April 19th.
Right.
Yeah, you have a chance. There's a window to pick it up.
Yeah.
It's really, you guys can get on your phone actually right now probably and just watch the movie on the way home again. It's weird.
So you and I were just chatting just now. We talked about Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
We're going to show Dawn of the Dead here in a few minutes.
Yes.
Dawn of the Dead, that's your first feature.
First feature film. I don't know if you guys know, famously I was supposed to do this movie called SWAT film.
Really?
And
The SWAT?
The SWAT movie. I was supposed to do the SWAT movie.
Yeah.
And the way I got it was had gone, in those days I was a commercial director. And so the way if you want to make feature films and you have like a pretty good reel, it's good enough to get you in a meeting, because I had all these TV commercials that I had directed and they were cool, or so people thought. And so that got me meetings at the studios, you know. So I would go into a meeting, and my line, and you guys can use this, is so I'd say like, okay, what do you have? What IP do you guys own that you can't crack, that you can't figure out, but you love? And they were like, you know, inevitably it was a few things, but you know, when I was at I think it was Sony, Columbia, they were like, oh, we have this thing SWAT. I don't know, like we think it's cool, but we don't know what to do with it. And I was like, SWAT, are you kidding me? I love SWAT.
Yeah.
I didn't love SWAT. I liked it. I thought it was cool.
There was a script that existed?
No, nothing. They were just like, we don't know what to do with. Yeah,
a movie about a SWAT team?
They just threw out SWAT. What do you think? Right. You know, the TV show. Movie. I mean, you know, a pretty. What I had thought was going to be a hard R rated SWAT movie. I wanted to make a really violent SWAT movie. Is what I thought would be cool. And then I remember we were like in the room and they're like, oh yeah, one little wrinkle, PG-13, what do you think of that? I was like, are you kidding me? How the fuck are we gonna do? Sorry. How the fuck are we gonna do that? The guys arrive with the guns out. You know, that's like you can make a cop movie. You've heard like cops say like stuff like, you know, like 40 years on the force and I never drew my weapon, you know, whatever. Yeah. I don't know if they say that anymore, but they used to say things like that. Anyway, so I'd be like, I go, guys, in this scenario, the guns are like, they arrive with the guns, ready to go. And I was like, and that's the fun of the movie. I want to like, they're going to fucking shoot the guns a lot. It is the coolest thing. Yes, absolutely. And I was like, see, I didn't get blackballed. Almost maybe, but like, and then, yeah, I took a meeting at Universal with Scott Stuber, who made this movie with me. And Scott's, I remember I did some acting out of like running zombies in the room. I was like, and then I like run around. I was like running around the room. And they were like, okay, he's enthusiastic. You know, I don't know if you can film anything, but he sure the acting feels kind of cool. And yeah, and the next thing I knew, we were in Toronto scouting, and I was like, "Wow, am I really going to shoot this movie?"
Well, and this is what I was wondering about, like, and when thinking about the immensity of this project, about Rebel Moon Part 1 and Part 2, but also just like, I mean, just to have your first movie be a remake of a George Romero film, and to follow that up with Watchmen, and to dive into the DC universe to do Superman.
It's funny. I should have
a two-parter.
I should have known. It was weird because when I said I was going to do Dawn, I didn't know that there was going to be like people that I was going to get death threats on that. You know, I'm like, how dare you?
They're our best customers.
And I was like, listen, you know, I love Dawn too. You know, like we're together on this. Like let's be friends. Like I'm gonna like, because my whole thing with doing, I didn't try and reinvent. I tried to homage the original as best I could you'll see in a minute. I'm sure you guys have never seen it, but it's, you know, really a love letter to the movie, and it's also how do you deconstruct a little bit the zombie genre? Like a few of the things I always thought was really cool about it was this kind when we had the Richard Cheese. I got the Richard Cheese song, the Down with the Sickness, and I remember when I showed it to the studio the first time, they were like, "You're joking, right?" With that song in the middle, like, well, what's the real song gonna be? And I was like, no, that's kind of this song. I thought it was like, you know how if we were actually making the movie, like scene where when they're coming back from Andy's gun store, they run through they run through the tunnel, and they come up the stairs, and our heroes are at the top of the stairs, and the zombies are at the bottom of the stairs, and the zombies stop. And the zombies, like, they have a little bit of a standoff. Now, would zombies do that? And I went, you know, in real life, no. But in this dramatization, I felt it was cool to do, you know.
These hypotheticals.
But like you're right, in the documentary, for sure they wouldn't stop. They would just come right up and kill our guys. So sorry, you're right, you got me on that one. But otherwise, but yeah, so that it was a super fun experience, and it was like a super low budget. I think it was $27 million budget. And we shot it in like 40-something days. It was like super crazy.
Well, and as I'm thinking about that, and thinking about the
make Watchmen, like you're fucking crazy. And I was like, what? And he goes, no, it's fine. Go do it. It's just like you're crazy. And I just think that like I have had this. Listen, the cool thing. I mean, I'm excited for you guys to see the R-rated versions of these movies, of course. Of Rebel Moon, because I think that I had this amazing opportunity with Netflix, where they read the script that I wrote, which is basically, you know, I was inspired by heavy metal, comic book, or a fantasy magazine, I guess call it that, because that's what it is, adult illustrated fantasy magazine. Very adult, by the way. And I was inspired to make a movie that somehow got to that feeling that I got when I read that magazine. Now, the PG-13 version, which is fine and I love, doesn't really have the same tone as you'll come to find out from the 3-hour version of this movie. It's literally an hour longer, and it's right now we're just trying to get it to R. I think we're going to get there. And so it's like a much different experience, I think, and I think it'll be fun for you guys, for anybody who's like a fan of, because it's the why I made the movie. That's what you'll see. Like that's what I wrote. And so the opportunity I had was, we'll make that movie. We'll make this movie you wrote, which is a sci-fi, takes tons of resources, has no business existing. By the way. Has no business, like Justice League. It has no business. Yeah, literally.
What it does.
In the same way, but we just did it preemptively. Like we had this cool opportunity to say, I said, you know, this movie, this PG-13 movie, love it because it's sacrificed itself on the altar of cinema so that this other movie can exist. So, you know, in that way, love it.
Well, and in that way, I mean, how long has this been brewing in your head? I mean, like dating back to when you were reading heavy metal back in the day?
Yeah, literally, I wanted. I mean, think about it just for a second. If you think about it in content, like 90 million, the Netflix assumes 2 viewers per view, which is like, you know, 90 and 90. Does anyone 180 million?
Yeah.
180 million people, which is, by the way, more people saw Rebel Moon than saw Barbie in the theater. Like that is a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, like Netflix has created a pipeline that is very robust, right? Like they can. so hopefully this movie, the sequel or the part 2, it's not really a sequel. I mean, we did them together, so it's really a second chapter. Yeah, and the cool thing about it is, like, look, this movie admittedly doesn't really have an ending. I know it doesn't. It was written as one script that was 200 pages long, and again, unwieldy and ridiculous. At the time, I didn't even have it broken into 2 scripts, so I gave them the 200-page script. I said, "This is kind of it," and they were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Was there talk of doing it as
In what format is this supposed to be photographed?
Right.
Like, is it so you're saying you're going to make a 6-hour movie?
And you're like, yeah.
And I was like, wow, that feels long.
Yeah.
That feels long. With an intermission, I guess. Like a break. Some kind of break.
In your head, it like...
So they are 2 6-hour movies. So if they turn out to be 6 hours, the director's cuts are 6 hours. These are 2 each, right? So they're 4. So it's additional 2 hours, additional stuff.
Any thought to, when approaching that is like, hey, I've got flexibility with my partners at Netflix. Structure it as a miniseries, structure it as, or any reason why just do it as 2.
You mean could it have been like a limited series or something?
Yeah,
well, at the time, I think that it was. I didn't have enough for like say 8 or 6, which would have been.
It's in between.
It was in a weird limbo state, so I think this was the perfect kind of solution in a lot of ways.
This one leaves off on a cliffhanger. The second
so.
film, just a smidge.
Second film, putting the team together.
Mm-hmm.
Film 2 is sort of a, we learn about our guys, like what about this journey is redemptive? What do they have to gain from being in this village with the farmers? And then, of course, it's a war movie.
Yeah.
Obviously,
the wall,
they're coming.
all in. Yeah.
Yeah, and they got to figure out how to win.
This is
in that, like, everything's a spoiler, right? Yeah. Even this clip is a bit of a spoiler because where Kora is in this little clip. So Kora's somewhere. I'll let you guess, but she's somewhere and she's fighting some dudes, and it's really just the smallest taste of the crazy, very long amount of action that is in this movie. But this is a little. I photographed him for my book with the Jimmy head.
When you have,
yeah, I did. It was cool. I was like, Tony, look at the head. Like it's like a skull. Like it's Hamlet. He's like, have that right.
Let's do a few audience questions. We only have a few. So Rebel Moon questions. We'll start with you, sir.
Thank you. In the fact that you got to like do this movie knowing that you're making 2 versions versus like making BVS where you had to like make edits, I'm guessing in post. What was it like in your mind when you're like figuring out what to edit in this scenario, because it's more of your choice versus like taking out? And I have a second yes or no.
Go ahead.
This is just a yes or no that's been bothering me forever, and I don't know if you've ever addressed it.
Wow.
In BVS, in the nightmare scene, the guy that is supposed to be dropping off the kryptonite that sabotages Batman.
Correct.
Is that Oliver Queen?
It is not.
Okay.
It's a fine jump.
Okay.
I don't mind it.
Okay.
I've been asked that before, actually.
Okay. There's going to be 30
and I partly wanted to say yes. Just because I love the idea.
He fits the mold.
He does fit the mold, but he's not.
But he's had a great question, though.
No, but I'll go back. I'll go back to the question. The cool thing about it, the way we constructed this formula, was that all the director's cuts I've done in the past have been in response to studio notes. Like, you got to take this out. The movie's too long. Blah blah whatever. We don't like this sequence. By the way, all of the nightmare sequences, the studio tried desperately to get out of the movie. Obviously. They wanted it up so bad. The only reason they left it in because we shot in IMAX, so they were like, "Oh, that's cool. I guess we have that IMAX." I was like, "Oh, you want to cut all the IMAX out of the movie? That's great. Call IMAX and tell them that we're doing that because they're gonna love that. We have all those theaters that we preserved with no IMAX. That's good." So anyway, so they were like, "Fine, whatever, fuck it." The director's cut of Batman vs Superman is like 75% of all DVD sales are generated by the director's cut of which is cool because like, you know, when they make a movie, they have like a budget or like a spreadsheet that shows the potential revenue from the film. That line didn't exist. Right? I should have said like, "Hey, can I just have that money?" That would have been cool. I didn't think of that, but you know, in retrospect, it was probably, I think I got a couple dollars from the sale, but I don't know. It could have been more. Maybe in the future, we'll look at that. But anyway, my point is only that idea that all of those director's cuts, and the Watchmen cuts, even this Dawn of the Dead director's cut, they're all in response to a note. You know, pretty much the reason that Watchmen is the length that it is because, and that's not so much been noted, Alan Horn and Jeff did ask me to take one more chop out where Rorschach chops the child molester, and I wouldn't do it. And they said, fine. They let it go. And I was like, look, I don't know what to tell you. They're like, there's meat hanging on the cleaver. I was like, isn't that awesome? But yeah, but my point is only that it was an interesting relationship to be in this place where we were like, okay, I know the R-rated version exists and that it is released on equal footing. It's not going to be put on DVD, I guess. I mean, depends how you view this streaming concept. But for me, in this context, it would be as if they were saying, not only will we make your movie, we're going to give it the same release as, actually, it's more my release because I'm releasing the movies on the same day because that's what I wanted to do. With these, I felt it was cooler and more immersive to have the second movie right there, or at least close the window. I was like, okay, well, can we do at least like 1 month? But it's not. It's a kind of it's a take. It's not a remake of Excalibur. I wouldn't do that. But it's like an American. It's take Excalibur and set it in sort of an American mythic setting, i.e., like the West or something, you know, and sort of tell that story again in that setting. So that might be something that, you know, as far as like, I mean, there are things like I would say, you know, a movie like Watchmen. It's my take, but it's very much the book. You know, it's like a weird, like we always talk about, like I always say I want to do Dark Knight Returns, right? Yeah. Woo, woo. And so I always go like, you know, that would be the book. Like I would make it the drawings. You know, like I don't know, it would be, the script would be the comic book. You know, that's how you would do it. And so that I would say is not like me taking a shot at a piece of IP. That's me delivering it back to its, you know, making. Because like, look, the truth is, and I've done it, Dark Knight Returns has been ripped off by every single Batman director
since '89.
Since '89. And so it'd be cool just to make it so that everyone understands like where it all came from. You know? Yeah. That'd be cool. I mean, about now, it's like, okay. It's been, like, there was a while there where it was ripped off so much that you were like, oh, there's no need to do it, right? And now it's been ripped off so much that there is a need to do it. Right. So everyone,
a pure version.
Yeah, like, so you're like, oh, fuck,
like,
really?
Do the actual fucking thing.
That's the horse? That's where the horse comes from? Right. Yeah, like, it's crazy, yeah.
All right, so they're about to watch Dawn of the Dead.
Okay, good.
So let's do a proper, real quick intro for Dawn of the Dead. Anything you want them to know going in? Any surprise Easter eggs that you've never mentioned to anyone?
That I've never mentioned.
Never mentioned. No, just anything that like whenever you see it, like jumps out at you. As
well, of course, you guys know I'm in the title sequence, right? Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So look for that. the cool thing is like me killing the press corps, because that's who's behind me. Like supposedly that shot in the movie is from, you know, Mr. President, that's the press corps that we like mow down. So that's interesting. And Sarah Pauly, when we trained her, she's Canadian. You know, incredibly Canadian, in the best possible way. Yeah. By the way, Sarah Pauly's a genius. So let's just say that right out loud. And I was lucky to have her in the movie. You know, how did you get that indie darling in your fucking zombie movie? I don't know. Still, I don't know. The verdict's out. She hasn't told me. But anyway, the point is that we taught her. We had to teach her how to fire a gun. Right? She didn't have to use a gun in the movie. Fire a shotgun. And my friend Kurt Johnstad, who is also wrote 300 with me and wrote this movie, I've known for years, is amazing. Also quite proficient with firearms, was one of the people involved with training her. And one of the main tenets when learning to fire a gun is like never let the barrel of the gun pass over anything you don't want to destroy. Right? If you're firing a real gun now, this is in a real gun scenario, not in a movie. Now, that separation for Sarah was not 100%. Like, I was like, okay, that's true on the firing range. But now we're doing a movie, so it's okay to point the gun at people. And those are zombies. And she goes, yeah, but it's a stuntman. I'm like, okay, I know. But for the shot, it's important that you point the gun at that.
Sarah, you are so Canadian.
And she's like, I don't know how to do that. I can't. It's dangerous. Like you taught me that it would pass the barrel over anything you don't want to. I don't want to destroy him. He's very nice. Very nice stuntman. He's like, I talked to him 5 minutes ago. Like I don't want to destroy him. I was like, I understand that, but the gun is clear and safe. It's 100% fine. He's fine. You're fine, right? He's fine. He doesn't. We're all. This is 100%. It's a friend. We're making. It's a drama. It's not real. I can't do it. So I was like, okay. So we had to trick it. I forget how we did it. But then there's a scene where, as you recall, where Ving Rhames puts the barrel of the gun on Sarah's forehead when she comes out of the car.
Oh no!
And she's like, how are we going to do that?
Like a fake forehead?
And I said, what do you mean? Well, how are we going to... What are we going to use for a gun? I was like, well, I was thinking the gun. She's like, does Ving want to destroy me? I'm like, no, he doesn't, obviously. So what we had to do is take the gun completely apart. And all we had was the barrel. Like the gun was, so we just pointed the barrel with no gun attached to it. Yeah, that's the close-up you'll see.
That'll only be the barrel.
Just the barrel of the gun, yeah. So that's a little trivia.
Nice.
Folks.
But it was, also, don't forget, guys, that this movie is on the 19th, or no? Yeah,
Rebel Moon Part 2, April 19th.
April 19th, Rebel Moon Part 2, but this movie was March 9th.
Okay.
This is and by the way, to my knowledge, this is the anniversary screen.
Oh.
It's not screening anywhere else yet. I mean, I feel like I should probably hurry up and organize something.
We should talk.
Although this is definitely adequate. You guys are honoring its memory.
I know some people at Universal.
Oh, cool.
Let's work something
we should work something out because it's just it's kind of cool. It's 20 years.
It's a birthday present.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, there you go. But thank you guys for listening to me rant like a lunatic.
Yeah. I think they do an hour or two more. But, thank you so much, folks. Zack Snyder.
Thank you, guys.
We're going to start Dawn of the Dead here in a second. Once again, as always, make sure you tip your Alamo Drafthouse staff. Put some money on top of that service fee. Thanks again to our friends at Netflix.
Yes.
Thank you.
Rebel Moon Part 2 is on April 19th. Thanks again. Folks, sit back, enjoy. We're going to let everyone roll out. And let's watch some zombies, right?
Fuck yeah.
Let's do it. Enjoy. folks, Zack Snyder. Thank you, guys. We're going to start Dawn of the Dead here in a second. Once again, as always, make sure.
Swimming in that Velt cheddar, baby. Let's go, Rebel Moon. Got all the merch. The Velt mugs. The popcorn bowl. The popcorn. The jibby. The lighting. Let's go. Rebel Moon Part 2. The ScarGiver. Let's go. Yeah, that's my comics up there too. Yeah. How's the Blood X? Let's go. Rebel.